Hello everybody, welcome to Marketing Analytics course. This is Dr. Shagata Chatterjee from VGSOM IIT Kharagpur who is taking this course for you. We are in week 11 and this is session 2 and we are discussing about text mining and sentiment analysis. So, till now I have discussed about how to do sentiment analysis using naive Bayes algorithm, which is a very easy type of algorithm, but there are other better algorithms which are also possible, like you can use random forest or you can use SVM. You can use decision tree. With the same document of matrix you can predict the y variable. Now, many people, many other researchers have actually done that, and in different contexts, like I have taken only for hotel review, they have done in different contexts and they have collected this data, created corpus and then found, labeled it as positive or negative manually sometimes, and then found out that which words are associated with positive review and which words are associated with negative review. They have done negative, not only review, negative sentiment, they have done it for quite some time. Now, after doing it for quite some time, there are various kinds of researchers who have created various libraries. Library means these are actual text library, which is like your Oxford library and kind of stuff, where there are lots of words are there, and instead of meaning of those words which you can normally find out in English libraries, they have the sentiment scores of those words. So, if this word is occurring, how much you can consider the sentiment of this particular text. So, some library has analyzed it and given in a positive and negative, this much classification has been done. Some guy has given positive also, how much positive, means in a -5 to +1 +5 scale, they have created a continuum and they have given a rating for each of the words. There are other libraries where not only sentiment has been told, but also the emotions that is expressed has also been told, like anger or frustration or disgust or let us say happiness or joy. So, these kind of emotions also were told. So, these libraries are already there and oftentimes they work good. Ideally, you should not use all these libraries in all contexts, but for a straight quick decision making kind of an approach, we can use this kind of ready-made libraries. You have to understand that we are marketing guys, we are not computer science guys. So, we will not be trying to create new libraries, that might not be our goal. Our goal will be using the algorithms and techniques that has been offered by the statisticians and marketing and computer science people in the context of marketing. So, rather than bringing in and creating your own library, a marketing analytics professional should majorly focus on how I can use somebody else's dictionary and create my own insights and how I can use those insights in marketing decision making. So, this is something that I will be doing in this particular session, and I have no code for this particular session. What we have is a website. So, if you see this particular website, the link has been shared. So, if you see, it is a tidy text mining, this is there is a library for that also, tidy text, and this is something that we will be going to discuss in this particular class. So, what I will do to discuss in this particular class is, I will ask you to go to this particular link has been shared in a text file in your in the files that you got, and this is something that we will be discussed. This is a book basically. So, welcome to textmining.r. Text mining with R is a book, is a free book. You can also buy from Amazon and etc., but this is a free particular web version of the book written by Julia Silze and David Robinson, and O'Reilly is one of the, I would say, major publisher, online publisher in this context, who publishes lots of books, which is where we can use R or Python for text mining. So, there is a book called Cookbook for R, which is also or cookbook with graphics of R, which are also good books to start with R programming. This one is only focused on text mining with R, and we will be majorly focusing on this sentiment analysis with tidy text mining. So, how to do this? If you have a text data, the first job, this is the methodology that they have proposed. The first job that you do here, if you can see this properly, I will just make it a little bit bigger. Just check this picture. So, the first job that you do is, from the text data, you come up with unset tokens tidy text and you create a tidy text, which is a clean version of the text. Then with this clean version, you join it with the lexicon, sentiment lexicon, which is available. Lexicon means these libraries, and you create the summarized text. Summarized text means text which were the sentiment and etc. is coded. And with that, we using ggplot library, you will do certain kind of visualization. So in this particular session also, we will be doing that. So there are 3 libraries that these guys are using. If you carefully see, the library names are Affine. The 3 library names are Affine, which is created by Finn Arup Nielsen, and then there is Bing library, which is another lexicon, and there is NRC, which is another lexicon. So NRC is a lexicon where the, I would say, if the definition is here. So NRC lexicon categorizes words in a binary fashion into categories positive, negative, and also in various emotions like anger, anticipation, disgust, fear, joy, sadness, surprise, and trust. So these are basically the core 8, I would say, the basic 8 emotions that are there in the market. So they break it in that way also. And then if I focus on the rest of the part, I see that there is a Bing lexicon which categorizes into binary fashion, only positive and negative, probably least used lexicon. And then there is Affine, which assigns words with a score between -5 to +5. As I was telling, there is -5 to +5, and which negative indicates negative sentiment and positive scores indicating positive sentiment. So we can use any of these 3 libraries. My choice are generally Affine or NRC. Affine I do it for sentiment mining, and NRC I do it for generally the emotion mining. So how to do that? So let us say we have to call first the library called tidy text, and now in this library, after calling this library tidy text, if you write get underscore sentiments and then Affine, so you can copy each of these codes one by one, paste it in your R programming this thing, and you can see that what is happening. So if I just get underscore sentiments and within that Affine, you will say that there are basically a table of 2477 words, and there are 2 columns, that means one is the word and one is the corresponding score. For Affine, Affine gives -5 to +5, if you remember. So here it is saying that abandon is a negative word, abandoned is also negative, -2, and then let us say abhor is -3, abhorrent is also -3. So that kind of coding they have done, and they have done for 2467 total 2477 words are there. So some words are different form of the same word, and correspondingly the sentiments are given. The same thing if I do it for Bing, another library, it only gives me negative or positive, and the words are different. The words that this guy cover is more words, 6786 words, but they only give positive or negative. That's all. So while the scope of the words are high, I would say the information content in this particular library is much lower than the previous one. So that might be a challenge. Then when I do it for NRC, they are further bigger. You see, there are 13,901 words. So that's why NRC is one of the most used lexicon in marketing, even in marketing research also. And you will see that they have given various words corresponding sentiments. The problem here is that you see that abundant, one word might be probably associated with multiple sentiments, like abandon, this particular thing is related with anger, related with fear. So I am abandoned, I am abandoned in an island, let us say. So which is also associated with fear. So if somebody abandons you, you will be angry to him, or if you are angry with somebody, you can abandon him. But if you are abandoned, then you will face fear and probably sadness also. So, all of these things together is basically a negative sentiment. So, there are sentiment rating also, sentiment classification also, and there are emotion classification also. Now, all of these classifications are not always correct, but they have been applied in multiple places, multiple contexts, multiple, and based on that they have done this. So, we can I have fairly believe on this system. So, ideally what we generally do is we see that in how many different kind of papers, how many different type of places these lexicons are used. And if you want to create your own lexicon in your own language, you have to follow their footsteps of whatever they have done. First of all, you have to create a name base or any something based that kind of a scoring pattern, and then you have to try out in multiple other options to fine tune the scoring, and later at the end you will say that okay, these words in different language, let us say in a Hindi language or in the Bengali language, these words is related to positive, this word is related to negative, you can create that. So, how are these sentiment lexicons put together and validated? They were constructed via either crowdsourcing or by the labor of one of the authors, and were validated using some combination of crowdsourcing again. Restaurant and movie reviews or Twitter data is something that is actually used. So, for example, I use hotel data, they also use this kind of restaurant or movie reviews data. So, we may hesitate to apply these sentiment lexicons to styles of text dramatically different from what they are validated on. Probably let us say how Indian people speak in English or write English, or how American people or Western people write English might be very different. So, it has to be used contextually. You cannot use a lexicon which has been developed in a European context in Indian data set. Sometimes that might have a backfiring. So, that kind of thing you should keep in mind, or at least if you are doing research, you should keep that in mind and you should write about that limitation. There are also some domain specific sentiment lexicons available, constructed to be used with text with a specific content area. Section 5.3.1 later point of time you will be dealing with that. So, right now I am not focusing on that. Now, how to use this? So, they are calling certain library called Jane Austen and then DPL Stringer. So, these are common libraries. This one is the library where the books are there, Austen's books are there, Jane Austen's book. So, then it is calling this tidy books. Tidy books is a data set that you will be creating using Austen underscore books. So, books of Austen, which will be coming from this library, and you will group by book. So, the whole corpus you are grouping by books, and then mutate how line number is equal to row number, how many. So, this thing will have a line number. Then you are also finding down the chapter number. So, the data set will have line number and chapter number, and then again you are ungrouping the data, and then you are changing the trying to create from the text the tokenize the words. So, notice that we choose the name word for the output column from unset tokens. This is a convenient choice because the sentiment lexicons and stop word data sets have column named word. So, this thing is same in both the cases. Performing inner joins and anti joins is thus easier. So, we will see what they are doing. Now, what they are doing? They are saying that get sentiments NRC and filter sentiment is equal to joy. So, they are creating basically a data set where only joy related words are there. Now, in this tidy books data set that they have created, they are finding out the Emma book, the book name is Emma, and in this book they are finding out which word is associated with joy. Only those words they are taking, okay, and they are trying to find out what is the count of those words. So, now this good, which is related to a joy, is happening 359 times in the data set. Young, which is also associated with let us say joy, is 192. So, I feel young, which is related to joy, which has been occurring in this Emma book 192 times. Friend is occurring 166 times, and so on. So, that kind of data they are getting. So, we see mostly positive happy words about hope, friendship and love here. We also see some words that may not be joyful by Austin. For example, found or present. These words may not be. Present can have different meaning. It is, but found, I don't know whether that is actually joy related or not. We can also examine how sentiment changes throughout the novel. So, in the first part of the novel, second part of the novel, how it is changing, they try to check that. So, small section of text may not have enough words in them to get a good estimate of sentiment, while large sections can wash out narrative structure. For these books, using 80 line works well. So, every 80 line they are finding out the sentiment, but this can vary depending on the individual text, how long the lines were to start with. So, that is why they are using this. So, they are using tidy R as the library and using Bing as the sentiment. Bing, if you remember, it was positive and negative, and then they try to find out that total sentiment how much it is, positive minus the negative. So, positive count every, they are breaking it into 80, and every 80 text they are finding out within that 80 set text how many times a positive word is happening, how many times a negative word is happening. Positive minus negative is the sentiment, that is how they are calculating, and then they are putting it in a GG plot. So, if I just see the book called Sense and Sensibility, you will see that initially it was positive, then it goes negative, then again positive, then again negative. So, there is always a plus and minus, plus and minus, plus and minus, and in fact, you will see all the books, Pride and Prejudice, and then Menfield Park or Emma, like Emma is majorly positive. So, here Sense and Sensibility or Pride and Prejudice is probably more I would say successful books than these two, because there were lots of jumps, ups and downs. So, here there was up, then there is a down, then ups, then down. So, sometimes there was some kind of the pressure building up was much higher in these two cases than Emma. Emma is straightforward, probably everything positive. In the last there will be some negative, but majorly positive. Here also in Menfield Park, straightforward positive, major negativity is in the last, and then from a negative sentiment all of a sudden to very positive sentiment, which might not be a good way. Again, Northanger Abbey and Persuasion. Persuasion is absolutely positive. Everything is positive. So, that might be. So, we can see in figure 2.2 how the plot of each novel changes towards more positive and negative sentiment over the trajectory. Now, this kind of an idea that how much is positive, how much is negative, how many switches are there, can be used to predict whether a book will be successful or not. Let us say you have a data set of lots of books, and then you know that whether these books were successful or not. Okay? So, that is your y variable, whether the books were successful or not. And then you have the book's text also, and from there you can find out that how much positivity is there, how much different kind of sentiments or emotions are there, and whether they were positive or negative, and how many changes have happened. All of these things can predict a book's success. Now, a new writer probably comes with a with some kind of a manuscript. You can put it in your algorithm and can predict the success, probable success. Obviously, after controlling for who is the author, who is the controlling for all of this stuff, at least a basic recipe you can get that how to write a more successful book. So, that kind of things are coming up in the coming days. So, comparing the three sentiment dictionaries. So, in this section 2.3, they have compared the three sentiments, like for Pride and Prejudice, this is the data set that they have used. First, they have used the Affin library, and then they have used the Bing library, and then they have used and they counted in all of these things how much was the, and if I just, so this is basically Affin and this is Bing. If I just compare Affin, Bing and NRC, NRC is giving heavily positive, everything is positive. On the other hand, Affin and Bing are probably be able to show similar results. So, Affin and Bing are more close to each other, and NRC is not so close to each other, not so close to Bing. So, it is probably and that can be a reason which we can say that I can shift the scale. So, if I compare these two, I can say that if instead of this NRC minus 5 or minus 10 if I do, then these two might match with each other. So, that we will see. So, the three different lexicons for calculating sentiment give results that are different in an absolute sense, but similar in relative trajectories through the novel. We see similar dips and peaks in sentiment at about the same places in the novel, but the absolute values are significantly different. The affine lexicon gives the largest absolute values, high positive values, and lexicon Bing et al. Has lower absolute values and seems to be label larger blocks of contiguous positive and negative texts. So, this is something that is important. Not always you can take these libraries, whatever the sentiment saying, that is the sentiment. You have to take that relative scale in that, because these are scales, their measurements are different. So, in the relative scale you can say that okay, this one is, this part of the book is more sentiment than that part of book. But that value 3, sentiment value 3 or sentiment value 5 or sentiment value 50, exact absolute values has no meaning, because what is sentiment, high sentiment to him might not be a high sentiment to somebody else. So, some people are more expressive, some people are less expressive. So, the people who have created these libraries can also be different type of people. So, sometimes that thing you have to keep in mind, that it is only the relative scale in which you have to measure this or read this, not in an absolute scale. Then what can I do? What are the most common positive and negative words? So, they have used using Bing, what is the most common, and they have found out that in this data set, the data set is, in this case the data set is basically, so they have checked for all of them, and they found that miss, poor, doubt, these are the most common, afraid, impossible, sorry, these are most common negative words, and well, good, great, better, enough, happy, these are the most common negative words. And if I probably create a word cloud, these are the word cloud of negative words, if I am not wrong. No, these are the word clouds, and sorry, the overall word cloud, this is the negative word cloud, and the hazy one are positive word cloud. So, you can see that how they have changed, taken two colors, gray 20 and gray 80. So, gray 80 is basically positive and gray 20 is negative. So, these are the negative words, these are the positive words in the text. So, there is nice, very good analysis that they have done. So, you can just probably copy these particular things, copy the codes, paste it in your R programming. So, I will not do that, because these are something that you should do on your own now. We have taken a path of 11 weeks. So, now it is time that you can get resources from online on your own and find out that how I can use that in my training. And then we looking at units beyond just words, you can also find out however little known. So, you in this particular thing, they are also thinking out that how instead of words I can take more, let us say good is positive, but if I say not good, that is negative actually. So, it might give a absolutely opposite setting. So, how I can look beyond words when I am doing data science, when I am doing sentiment mining. So, in using these three things, basically NRC, Bing and affine, and probably majorly NRC and affine, we will be doing some work in the next video. If you remember, we have overall rating of hotels, I have some text, and I have 6 aspects, A1 which is location, food, this and this. So, can I find out from this text, I find out the overall sentiment of this text and emotions in this text. So, I can put from this text, I will put this NRC and affine library, and I can create another column which is overall sentiment, and then 8 emotions, let us say E1, E2, E3, E8, 8 emotions. Now, I can say overall rating is a function of obviously the aspects A1 to A6, but it is also a function of how in which emotion you are in and what is your overall sentiment. So, not only quantitative rating is impacting your overall rating, but also qualitative rating, qualitative aspects are also impact your overall rating. So, can we create how the qualitative part gives enough information for a manager to see that how that impacts the customer's rating that they are giving? We will be trying to see. So, this particular tidy text whatever we are doing here, this codes we will be using to solve this problem in the next video. So, just I would before you start the next video, I would strongly suggest that is why that only the text mining part you can if somebody can learn the whole thing, that is best, but this chapter 2 you should do it thoroughly, you should read the chapter 2 thoroughly, pick up the codes, run it in your R and see that whether you are getting the results. If you are getting stuck, you can email me or message me. So, that is all. Thank you for being in this particular video and I will see you in the next video. Thanks.